Have you ever asked yourself what it is that makes a good show a great show, or a good movie a great movie? I've been involved with tons of performances all the way through my life. I started off as the goose in the pantomime of Mother Goose. Then I went on to do a number of minor roles in performances and choirs, and I was Doody as one of the T-Birds in Greece at one point, through to countless performances in school assemblies or on beaches or with various teams of people. I've also been to see loads of performances. Only once or twice can I remember coming out and thinking, what a waste of my time. Mostly, I've come out really, really pleased. What I find amazing is that, even at a tender moment with just a few people on stage, actually, there are tons of people making the performance happen. You can see what's on the stage, but what you can't see is there's 3 or 4 people in a lighting box somewhere making the lighting absolutely perfect, and there's another 3 or 4 on sound so you can hear the characters and the sound effects are going to come in. There's other people playing in an orchestra underneath them and the leader of the orchestra. There's people backstage holding props ready to change sets around. There's other people backstage who are going to touch up makeup or change a costume for somebody. There's a director sweating somewhere watching the whole thing. There's people who are front of house taking tickets and showing you to your seat. There's a producer somewhere terrified the money's going to run out. There's a choreographer watching to see if the steps were all right. There's a set designer hoping that people love their set. There's costume designers hoping people love the costumes. There's advertising people. There's program people. There's someone who organises rehearsal venues and schedules. But if they've all done their jobs well, most of those people actually become invisible. And what we see is that moment on the stage in front of us. If it's all done really, really well, we might even forget we're in a theatre at all, and we just become totally involved in the human story in front of us. Every year the Christian Church celebrates a time we call Epiphany. Epiphany simply means God revealing himself to us, having like a wow, I get it moment. There's loads of key passages we traditionally read in Epiphany. I mean, we read passages about wise men finding Jesus, the first non-Jews to find him. We find Jesus' public miracle, the water into wine, and how people responded there. We read about God's planning as he litters the Old Testament with hundreds of signs that when we find Jesus, we know really it is him. And we read about an old man called Simeon and an old woman called Anna living in the temple, waiting expectantly to see this Messiah figure. And as Jesus comes in as only 8 days old, Simeon and Anna both find him at the same time. But there's one passage which we read which, for my money, blows all those out of the water. It's kind of about me. It's one of the most profound and humbling ways that God says he reveals himself to the world, and it's found in a letter to a church in Corinth. The church is full of confusions and infighting and factions and misunderstanding. The letter says this: just like in a human body, there are many individual parts that go to make it up. That's exactly what it's like when we become part of Christ himself. When we come to know God and we're baptized, God places his Spirit in us. And because of this, we all have that one God flowing through us all. So actually we're baptized into being one global body. One part of a human body never works independently of the others. A hand never goes off on its own, thinking it's better if it's with only other hands. An eye doesn't whine that the feet can't see better. Incredibly, God arranges us exactly as he knows we need to be. The whole thing works together. Some parts are presentable and don't need any special care, but some parts need to be treated with extra care and respect and honour. So just like on a stage or in a movie, there are way more people involved than actually doing the acting. I mean, you just need to look at the film credits to realise that. So what is it that makes a good show great or a good film spectacular? It's when everyone, from the writer to the director, the extras to the main parts, the lighting and effects people to the costume and the scenery, they all seem to be in the right place doing the right jobs. Suddenly it just works, and they all act on faith. Faith that the music is going to happen at the right time. Faith that the lights are going to come on when they enter the stage. Faith that the staging will move at the right time. Faith the other actors are going to do their parts. Faith that the props are going to be found. Even faith that the cleaning up at the end of last night's performance was all done correctly. This Christmas time, I stood on the sidelines and I watched the community of St George's and All Saints do exactly that. For the whole of the festive period, they hosted concerts, they staged events, they opened up for services, they did refreshments, they cleaned everywhere spotlessly, they hung decorations and lanterns. Most of these people want to become the invisible ones. They didn't do it for the thanks or for a hooray, or they didn't want the spotlight. They wanted the spotlight to be on one person only, on Jesus. But the letter I talked about is not just talking about one church community, it's talking about how the global movement that we call Christianity shows God to the world. God's arranged us as a global community so cleverly, and we need to learn from each other. We need to listen to each other. We need to rely on each other. We need to move as one. One part cannot say to another part, I don't need you. And the more and more we do that, and we don't just go off as our little cliques only engaging with the cliques who share our theology or our worldview, that the more we show who God really is. And the less we do that, the more dysfunctional and isolated we become. Maybe we don't need more programs and more clever ways to do things, more meetings. Maybe what we need is more humility. Maybe what we need is more justice. Maybe what we need is more unity, more diversity, more harmony. And those things are free. They're hard and they take patience. But they will show God off at His absolute best. So may we be people who are filled with humility, filled with unity. May we embrace diversity and harmony. May we take the hard road of patience and tolerance and work together. And as we do that, may we put Jesus on the stage, in the spotlight, for people to really engage with His story more and more and more.